Hello beautiful people and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kayla. If you're new here, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Today is the third episode of Read with Kayla, which is an extension of my blog where every other week I tell you about the books I've read and what I think about them and why you should read them or not. This week is a bunch of books that you should read. Usually I have them all here with me, but they're all up in my room. So I'm just gonna talk to you about them. I'll insert the covers here so you can see them as we go. But it's kind of a short list. This week I only read 5 books, actually 4 3/4. I'm not quite finished the last one, but I've read almost all of it and I feel confident giving it the rating that I'm going to give it because I've heard great things about how it ends. So, and I'm gonna finish it tonight. So here we go. The first book I read this week, The Viking Who Love Me, which is the second Bridgerton book by Julia Quinn. Y'all know I love Bridgerton. I loved the TV show and immediately had to read the books. So this is the second book. It is about Anthony. And it honestly got me so excited for the next season of the TV show. I love these books. I'm usually not a huge mass market paperback romance reader. I'm usually that's not my vibe, but I'm obsessed with this series. And so yeah, I gave it 5 stars. I think it's a lot better than The Duke and I. Yeah, it was incredible. So that is The Viking Who Love Me by Julia Quinn. Next up, I finished the Shadow and Bone trilogy with Ruin and Rising by Leigh Bardugo. The Shadow and Bone TV series on Netflix comes out in a little less than a month, which is super exciting. And so I wanted to read the series, even though I'm sure the first season's only going to be the first book. But I wanted to read the whole series and kind of be caught up. In the last Read with Kayla, we talked about how the second book, Siege and Storm, kind of had that middle book syndrome, and I had a really hard time getting into it. Ruin and Rising did not have that problem. It hit a home run with the ending of the series. I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. And it got me really excited, to continue with reading the Grishaverse books with the Six of Crows duology and the King of Scars. Is a duology, but I don't know if there's going to be more to it. I know the second one comes out really soon. I'm not there yet, but I really enjoyed it. I liked how it ended. I liked how it continued to set up how this world will go. And honestly, I mean, I haven't obviously finished Crooked Kingdom or the King of Scars duology yet. But I feel like Leigh Bardugo could keep writing the Grishaverse forever and I would want to read it. So that's exciting. I mean, we've only been to what, 4 of the 7 countries she's introduced. So I'm really excited to kind of see how that goes. So that was Ruin and Rising, Leigh Bardugo, the third in the Shadow and Bone trilogy. So good. Loved it. Next up, this is a Book Talk Made Me Do It. A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett Sinclair. This is a modern kind of urban fantasy Hades Persephone retelling, but they are actually gods in it. So it's very weird. It's they plucked the Greek gods and put them into a modern city setting. And it's the story of Hades and Persephone, though as people have been pointing out, I follow a lot of ancient history scholars and mythology nerds and stuff on TikTok, and someone was pointing out there is not a single version of the Hades Persephone myth where Persephone goes willingly, and I'm like, shh, let me enjoy this. So I loved this book. I thought the writing was really good for the first one. I really liked the characters. I liked Persephone. I liked her BFF / roommate Lexa. I liked this portrayal of Hades. The book was quite a bit spicy, which was great. Not the spiciest thing I've ever read, but it was nice. And yeah, I just thought it was really good. I ordered the sequel, and then there's also, I want to say, it's not just the first book through Hades' perspective, but also more of what was going on in Hades' world. I ordered that as well. I haven't gotten to reading it yet. But I'm super excited. The third book comes out in May, I want to say. Yeah, so I gave it 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. I've heard that the second one isn't quite as good, but I'm gonna let myself be the judge of that for myself. So that is A Touch of Darkness by Scarlett St. Clair. Next up, we've been talking about it already, I got to Six of Crows. Now, I'd been told for, a while that I was gonna love Six of Crows. Everyone was like, oh my god, Kayla, why haven't you read it yet? You're gonna love this. And so I was like, okay, whatever. But then I decided I wanted to read Shadow and Bone first, because chronologically in the Grishaverse, Shadow and Bone takes place first. And now that I've read Six of Crows, I'm glad that I didn't read it first, because at first I was going to. And no one told me not to. And I'm really glad that I didn't, because if you don't read Shadow and Bone, there are things that are mentioned in Six of Crows that don't make a lot of sense. And not that they were necessary to know to understand what was happening in Six of Crows, but they talk about Alina, they talk about Nikolai, they talk about all these characters that are introduced in Shadow and Bone. And this, they talk about the war in Ravka, and all these things that you wouldn't understand if you didn't read the Shadow and Bone trilogy. So I don't know what people were talking about by telling me to read Six of Crows first, because no, Six of Crows takes place 2 years after the end of Shadow and Bone. So no, after the end of Ruin and Rising, the end of the trilogy. Anyway, I really did enjoy it. I think it was a little harder to get into because obviously Kerch was a place that we hadn't been yet, and so there was a lot of world building to happen, and a lot of characters to be introduced to. This book has several POVs, so it kind of took some time to adjust to who was talking, but I thought it was really, really good. I liked the story. I wanted to throw Matthias off the boat the entire time, and honestly still on the boat ride back I did too. Let's be real, I'm just no sir. But now we'll get to how I feel about it now. But yeah, I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I think as far as a first book in a set goes, I liked Shadow and Bone better than Six of Crows, just for how I enjoyed it as a first book in a series. But I really enjoyed Six of Crows, which leads me to what I immediately picked up when I finished Six of Crows, because it leaves you on such a big cliffhanger. Ugh, Lee. Crooked Kingdom, which I am currently in the process of finishing, but I am confident, unless something goes wrong in the next, I think I have 75 pages left. Unless something goes wrong, I'm confident that this is going to get a 5-star from me, which is very rare that I rate a sequel higher than I rate the first book. So I love this book so far. I like how much more we've gotten to know the characters. I feel like we didn't get to know them as deeply personally in the first one. This book deals with a lot of the characters trauma that we didn't know existed. Half of the trauma that a lot of these characters have wasn't really addressed in Six of Crows, and it's gotten in deep in this. So I'm very confident that unless something goes wrong in the next 75 pages, this is a 5-star read. I am obsessed with this book. I just got to a part where some characters that I wasn't expecting to see from the Shadow and Bone universe, from Ravka, have shown up, and I'm so excited. I'm obsessed. So, Crooked Kingdom is gonna be a 5-star. So that's it. That's the 5 books I've read the past 2 weeks. I did not, this will be the last, obviously, Read with Kayla of March. I am nowhere near completing my March TBR. And I just kind of accepted that was going to be a fact, because I got too invested in the Grishaverse. Shadow and Bone and Six of Crows were both on my TBR for March. Because I didn't realize that there was a chronology to them. I knew they took place in the same world, but I thought I could read them simultaneously. You can't. You can, but I wouldn't. So then I ended up reading, 3 extra books that I wasn't planning on. So there's a lot of books that are, waiting for me to read them. But once I finish this, I'm going to start King of Scars immediately after. So it was pointless to have a March TBR, but that's okay. I read a lot of good books this month. So that's it for today. Let me know in the comments what your favorite book you read in the month of March was. And make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any videos. Give this a big old thumbs up, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.